Well, this is sad. Alexa, play Despacito.
La la la, clicky keyboard noises, la la la, keyboard noises.
It's the end of an era, guys. NaNoWriMo, the writing challenge that was aimed at getting people to write 50,000 words of an original project every November, is finally shutting down following several controversies. I can't say I'm surprised, since I did do a couple of videos explaining why I felt like NaNoWriMo has been going downhill in the last few years, but it is a little bit sad to see something that I held in a special place in my heart go down after so many years. But they were grooming kids in their forums, which should have gotten a lot more media outrage than their atrocious stance on AI, but altogether it painted a pretty bad picture. So today I'm going to talk about dynasties crumbling while I make a bookmark. Sound good? Good. But first, we must prep our materials. I got this fleece from Joann some time ago. It was supposed to be a rectangle, but I made it into what should have been the base for my castle. It was going to be the ceiling, but I did it on one of the rooms and I did not like the way it looked, so I ripped it out, and now I have these pieces of fleece that I don't really have any use for. So that's what I'm going to use to make my bookmark today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two pieces together. You can just like fold the corners of one sheet if you want. And then you basically just have to cut a triangle in the corner. I'm going to mark my spot. It only really has to be long enough to make it stick on the book. So, like, I don't know, 2 inches if you want. I'm going to do this. I used this, the width part, and then I'm just going to draw a line between these two to make my triangle shape because I like uniformity. You can eyeball the size. It's chaos arts and crafts, if you will. I have my pinking shears. I do not know where my scissors went. Let's see if I can find them. Found them. They were on the other side of all of my embroidery thread. Take my 2 pieces, make sure they're lined up, and then I'm just going to cut the shape. I'll find something else to use this for. I am nothing if not resourceful, so off with you. And once you've done this, you can either just leave it like this and do a blanket stitch across the edges. You can glue up the edges if you don't want to deal with stitching anything. I like to stitch, so I am going to stitch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a design on one side. Originally I was going to do like my name, but then I remembered I like to have whatever the printed side is facing whatever page I'm on. Some people like to stop reading at the end of a chapter. I do it at the end of paragraphs because I have had too many times where I have stopped at the end of a chapter, sat it off for a day or two, come back, and the next chapter is in a different POV, and now I'm completely lost. So I end in the middle of a paragraph, kind of like a commercial break on a TV show, and then I just pick it up, and I like to have the design of whatever it is that I'm using facing whatever side. I am going to be doing something a little bit more symmetrical, like a bat, because this will make a good stencil. And see, with the size that I chose, it goes really nicely. And you can use like a friction pen if you want. This is just going to be going in a book, so I'm not terribly concerned about if it looks amazing. And I'm only doing one of these sides because as much as I like cross stitch, I can do 1,000 X's on a cross stitch and be perfectly fine. But you ask me to embroider something and I just lose my will to live. And that sucks because embroidery is beautiful. I just don't have the patience for it. A little bat, it's ugly, but it's also cute because it's mine. And now I am going to try and finagle this fancy doodad that my husband got me for Christmas. We're going to see if I can actually embroider this stuff at an angle that you guys can see. I also need to pick out a color. Oh, that's cute. All this stuff and I don't have my needles. All right, I've got all my materials together. Now let's try and switch the camera angle and I will discuss my feelings on NaNoWriMo ending. I'm not going to teach you how to do my methods for embroidery because I don't actually know what I'm doing, which might also be why I'm not a huge fan of embroidery because I can't be bothered to learn how to do it. But as I've mentioned in previous videos, I was first introduced to NaNoWriMo as a writing challenge back in 2006. Which was my senior year in high school. I didn't win that year because I spent most of my time writing scholarship essays, and being a writing rebel wasn't a thing for them at the time, but it sparked an interest in me that kind of kickstarted my motivation. By that time, I'd already written several fanfics on Quizilla, 2 original stories, which word count wise were probably classified as long novellas, and a full length novel by that point. But something about the community that NaNoWriMo brought to the table just sparked something in me that really made me think I could make it as a writer. Chris Beatty was running it at the time, and you could see how strongly he and his friends believed in the program. They didn't waste their money on unnecessary website updates or features that nobody needed, and they weren't beholden to sketchy writing software sponsorships. We knew what our donations were funding because they were transparent about which milestones went to which things. The forums weren't open year-round because they didn't want to waste their money holding server space to run it. It felt grassroots because it was, and they weren't wasting any energy on things that weren't helping make this a great, fun thing to do. And then Chris Beatty stepped down to focus on his own writing career in 2012, which is great for him, and I'm happy for him. But Grant Faulkner took over, and he just didn't seem to have the same vision for NaNoWriMo that Chris Beatty had. Very quickly, the program shifted from its focus on community and creating a welcoming environment to foster writing goals to a focus more on fundraising and, padding the bottom line. Yeah, it was a nonprofit, but it was starting to feel more like a business. The website was getting fancier and also crashing because the servers couldn't handle the new designs, so they bought more server space that they didn't need, and new features started popping up that looked cool, but they were a strain on their resources. Yeah, it was cool that you could upload a cover design and store your story info for years, but that kind of infrastructure takes a lot of money to upkeep, and it detracts from the overall goal of a supportive writing community. And then the emails stopped being fun pep talks and started feeling like fundraising emails. So we weren't getting that this should be fun for everyone vibe anymore. It really was beginning to feel more like a business than the fun writing challenge it started out as. And people weren't even using the website. If you look at the comments on my video about why I wasn't supporting NaNoWriMo anymore, there were so many people that didn't even realize NaNoWriMo was a nonprofit organization. They all thought it was like an unofficial thing, like Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is September 19th, by the way. They didn't even realize there was a website and sponsors and all that. So they've got all these features people aren't using, wasting money that could have been put toward the programs that they were supposedly running. And now they're having to heavily rely on corporate sponsorships to keep the lights on because nobody realized that NaNoWriMo was like a thing. So they're already setting themselves up for failure, and then the grooming charges hit. There are videos that can explain it better than me what went on down there, but the short version is that some of the forum admins were taking advantage of some of the teenaged writers in the forums. The kids were smart enough to collect their evidence when their complaints to NaNoWriMo headquarters went unanswered. The FBI allegedly got involved, but I haven't heard anything about anyone facing charges. But rather than them facing this issue head on, taking accountability for what happened, and making their space a safe environment for everyone, especially for younger writers, they deflected. They victim blamed. They swept things under the rug and basically did everything except put guardrails in place to protect their users from exploitation. Now, when I heard about that, I was done. But then the whole we support using AI to write your novel, and if anyone says writing using AI isn't technically creating, then you're ableist and racist thing went down. And that destroyed any thread of credibility they still had. And I figured there was no coming back from that. By then, I was just waiting for the announcement they were closing their doors. And honestly, I'm more surprised how long it took for them to admit defeat than the fact that they actually did decide they're not doing this anymore. So basically, what started as a fun writing community just devolved into a money-making venture. Yeah, they were nonprofit, but like nobody knew that because they surely weren't running it like a nonprofit. And I've heard that people were getting emails when they decided to shut down. I didn't get that email because I unsubscribed to them a long time ago, so I didn't get the email apparently that they sent out, but apparently it explained how things had been going downhill for a while, and it was a little bit victim blaming. Like, well, we couldn't get the money that we needed, so we had to reach out to these AI-based writing sources. If you guys had given us more money, we would have been able to keep the website going without having to rely on them. And one good thing about the writing community is that we band together. And when this whole thing with NaNoWriMo really blew up and people realized that that was not something aligned with their values anymore, writing challenges cropped up to fill the void. I participated in the Pathfinders Writing Collective Writing Challenge, which is still going on. They've got a Discord for all that stuff. They're going to be doing challenges throughout the year. I know that there have been other groups that have done writing challenges. Anything that gets people together and fosters creativity is a-okay in my book, but that was what we did. We all banded together to find something that did align with our values and our beliefs. NaNoWriMo wasn't for the people anymore, so major bad lie in it. And that sucks because that was a big part of my life for many, many years. But, just like people have had to reconcile their love of Harry Potter or the Sandman stuff with the authors that have created those things, we have to think about the things that we enjoyed that are not what we thought they were. Life is about growth and recognizing when things are not working anymore and, growing as people. So those are really my thoughts on it. And yeah, that's really all I've got to say about it, I guess. And look, now I have a bookmark. I did speed this video up a bit, but the original video doing all of the blanket stitching and the original one, I think still only took like 20 minutes to do this. So it's a pretty easy art and craft to do. Doesn't really involve a lot of skill, just involves a needle, some felt. But yeah, look, isn't it cute? And there you have it. Cute little bat bookmark. I think it's really cute. And in honor of me choosing a bat as my little mascot for today's arts and crafts project, did you know that bats can eat up to 1,200 mosquitoes an hour? It's insane. In personal updates, Naja ate all of my plant seedlings. I forgot to put the greenhouse cover on top of it, and I woke up the next day to find that Naja was eating all of them. She ate all of my sprouts down to the dirt. I think 3 pellets survived. I'm going to see if I can bring them back to life. I have started a bunch of new seedlings. I doubled my efforts, added a bunch of different vegetables to my list. We'll see how they go. I also started potatoes in a hamper. Had to take about a week and a half off of writing because I was moving rooms. As you can see, this is not the same room I normally film in. I had, this used to be my kids' room and I used to film in the guest room, but I switched those rooms around. I like this room. It's nice and cozy, but I did have to take about a week and a half off because it took a few days for me to get everything from one room to the other and get it all deep cleaned. And I kept injuring my left foot. No luck on this left side. I dropped a picture frame on top of the foot, have a giant bruise on the top of my left foot. I stepped on a branch and it bear trapped on my leg. So I had a scratch on the heel of my foot and a scrape and a bruise on my ankle. Had a child ram into the back of that leg with a tricycle. So now I have a scrape and a bruise on the back of my calf. And also somehow Willow, it all happened so quickly, but somehow she got one of her claws in the base of my pinky toe, or the base of my big toe. So I have a stab wound from a cat claw on the bottom of my big toe. It's ridiculous. No part of my left foot has gone unscathed in the last 2 weeks. It's been ridiculous. I haven't done much writing since I last saw you guys, again, because I was moving these rooms and then I kept injuring myself. And then I had trouble connecting some wires because I'm not very tech savvy. And then I was very frustrated by all of that stuff. So I just was like, I'm not going to write anything for a few days because everything's frustrating me, and I didn't want to add like a writer's block to the mix. But I'll be able to stay up late writing nowadays because I have my computer in a separate room. Things have been good. How about you? I would love to know what's going on with you. Thank you for sitting and watching me make my little bookmark and talk about my feelings about the downfall of NaNoWriMo. My name is Jennifer McPeak. I am a presently unpublished author, currently working on a few different things, and I would like to be either traditionally or self-published. I'm not really sure which path I'm going to take, but we'll see. If you would like to follow me along on this writing journey, and I would love if you did, I post new videos every other Wednesday where I talk about reading, writing, arts and crafts, and occasionally I show you how to make a thing. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to share with me, if you have any opinions on what I just spoke about, or if you have any questions for me, I would love to answer them. Reach out. I am here, and I would love to make new friends. So drop by with whatever you would like to talk about. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Later.
La la la, clicky keyboard noises. La la la, keyboard noises.